Hey guys, Nintendo Direct just released a new trailer for Tears of the Kingdom, and it is by far the most interesting that we have seen. So today, I'm going to take a look at this trailer and break down exactly what's happening. But before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications on all my new videos. And with all that said, let's take a look at this new Tears of the Kingdom footage. Okay, so the first thing that we see is of a wide shot of Hyrule. We can see lightning strike several times, but if we look closer in the background, we can see Death Mountain with mouth spewing out of it, much like in the previous trailer. If we look closer at the ground though, we can see some sort of malice glob, but it's unclear exactly what it is. If we look to the right of that, we can see a green glowing spiral. We can see these several times in the trailer, but I'll get back to that later. The next clip we get is of these strange dragon lizards. Whatever they are, we see several flying around. Other than that, there's not much in this clip. The next thing we see is of another glowing design on the ground. We can also see two towers, much like the Sheikah Towers in Breath of the Wild. We can also see four glowing beams beside of them, most likely for you to see the towers at night. Whatever these things are, they are most likely going to act like the towers in Breath of the Wild. But the strangest thing in this scene is the massive cyclone we can see in the sky. After that, we get a downward shot of somewhere in Hyrule. We can see a bit of Sky Island, but what's interesting is if we look below it, there's a small square platform with an orange light on it. While it's unclear exactly what this is, it looks very similar to the Guardian Lights in Breath of the Wild. Next up, we can see somewhere underground. There's several monsters mining something, but it's unclear exactly what it is. If we look down at the Lizalfos though, they have a reddish glow to them, probably some form of malice. What's strange is, if we look to the right on the ground, we can see several small flames. This is very similar to the spirits in Twilight Princess. If we look out in the distance, we can also see an alien-like tree with a yellowish glow in it. The next clip is, in my opinion, the most interesting in this trailer. We see Lake Hylia along with Death Mountain and Hyrule Castle, but we also see a three-headed flying dragon. This is of course theorized to be Gleeok from past Legend of Zelda games. I would love it if he came back as an overworld boss. We also hear Ganon's voice saying,
"Rise, my servants. Sweep over Hyrule. Eliminate this kingdom and her allies. Leave no survivors!"
Okay, so let's back up. After the shot of Lake Hylia, we see Hateno Village. Within it, there's another one of the glowing green spirals. We also see a bunch of white flickering lights, but it is unclear exactly what they are. After that, we see a couple clips of the Blood Moon, meaning that it will definitely be a big part in Tears of the Kingdom story. On the last clip of the Blood Moon, there are globs of malice being thrown at somewhere, but it's unclear where that is. After that, there is a big orb that explodes, and if we look closely in it, we can see tentacle-like arms, but we still don't know who is in it. Now this part we don't see much, except a big rock obviously from Death Mountain falling. I have heard that this might be a huge enemy, but the fact that rocks are falling off of it means that it is probably just a rock from Death Mountain. Now the next clip is one we've seen before, where Hyrule Castle is rising. But the one after that is a shot of the plateau. The next part we can see where the malice globs are landing, and we also can see more bokoblins coming out of them. The scene after that is a variety of enemies. Bokoblins, moblins, Lizalfos, and two new enemies. One being a bigger version of the bokoblin, which we know will be called boss bokoblins. But the other has two round white eyes, and looks very similar to a Redead. The next scene after that is of Link riding Epona next to Hyrule Castle. Then there is a shot of somewhere in the desert, and we can see a weird cloud. After that, we can see Link in a room, and a bunch of tentacles come out of the ground around him. We can also see one of them holding a machine, which makes me think this is some sort of thing that Robbie has made, probably to upgrade Link's equipment. Next up, we can see a group of bokoblins surrounding a boss bokoblin. We can see it blowing a horn, and the other bokoblins reacting to it by swinging their weapons all around at the same time. Then we see Link running away from a Hinox underground in some sort of tunnel. Usually Hinox will be wearing a Sheikah orb or weapons, but this one appears to be wearing some sort of green rock. After that, we can see Link jump off a cliff and pull out his paraglider. What we see after that is Link riding Epona through one of the glowing patterns. Then we see another dragon lizard holding a bokoblin, but this time they do not have clubs, but instead stone axes. What's strange about this clip is that we can see Typhlo ruins, but this time it is not black. Next we can see a battle between Link and 3 moblins. One has a pair of horns like a bull, and the other 2 some sort of thing with black spikes on it. Then we can see Link somewhere in the Sky Islands, fighting a massive boss. We can see that it is held together by the green glow that is all throughout the trailer. We can also see this glow on the shoulder, possibly being the monster's weak spot. After this, we get a couple clips of Ganon coming alive, and also another angle of Hyrule Castle. At this point in the trailer, it takes a turn and shows us more of Link in the Sky Islands. We hear Zelda talking to Link. Before Link jumps off the cliff, we can see the Sky Islands. But what's weird is, if we look out in the distance, there is some sort of block, and it doesn't look like any of the other Sky Islands. It could be a dungeon or some sort of major boss fight. Next we see Link walking beside a cliff, and behind him another one of the glowing patterns. But besides this, there isn't much in this clip. Breath of the Wild had a variety of arrows. Regular arrows, fire arrows, ice arrows, shock arrows, bomb arrows, and ancient arrows. But it appears that we will be getting a new type of arrow in Tears of the Kingdom. In this next clip, we see Link shoot down one of the flying creatures with this balloon-like arrow. When Link pulls it back, the bluish-green magic swirls around the arrow, and when he shoots it, it curves into the creature. While we only see one new type of arrow, it is quite possible that we will get several types of new arrows, and possibly be able to craft them. The next clip is of Link shield surfing down a railing, but as he turns the corner, you can see the bokoblins mining something again, just like in the beginning of the trailer. Whatever they're mining is certainly important in Tears of the Kingdom story. Next we see Link in the Sky Islands again. He's controlling a small object with his hand, and result it controls the piece of Sky Island behind it. We can also see something dangling from a string. My thoughts is this is something we will see a lot in the Sky Islands, and it could even be Koroks. Next we see Link in a cave, fighting a Talus. The weapon he is using is quite strange. It is some sort of cannon that shoots exploding orbs. If we look closely at this weapon, we can point out several things. First being, there is a giant dragon head on it. This is very similar to the one on Link's shield. My thoughts is we will be able to craft weapons, since we see this dragon head several times on Link's equipment. We can also see a glowing symbol on the weapon. This is the exact same symbol we see on the one-eyed golem. While there isn't a lot of evidence for this being a Zonai symbol, the fact that the game is focusing a lot on the Zonai means this is probably somehow related to them. I would also like to point out that if we look on the back wall of the cave, we can see a bunch of luminous stone. After that, we see someone wearing a white and green dress. Whoever this is, we see them reach out their hand to Link's hand. There are 2 options for who this could be. Number 1, Zelda. While that kind of would make sense, the fact that the area around them is light means this is probably in some sort of realm, which makes me think this is none other than Hylia. Next, we see Link hold out his arm in confusion. This is either right after he figures out it has powers, or right after he reaches for what I think is Hylia's hand. Next, we see Link pull a wheel out of the mud with his hand. The scene after that explains what the wheel is for. It is for some sort of cart. We can see several things on it. First being dragon heads. We can also see 2 headlights, but at the back we can see something very interesting. It is some sort of stone that powers the cart. After this, it shows us 2 more machines. The first one being a hot air balloon, and the second, some sort of machine with propellers. This means that there will be plenty of options to explore the Sky Islands. The trailer then shows us Link riding through a field in Hyrule. We can spot several things in this clip. The first one being 2 towers in the distance. Then we can see 2 globs of mouse. But if we look up in the sky, we can see a chunk of Sky Island falling, with a trace of bluish green magic falling behind it. This means one of the main missions in the story is probably going to be preventing the Sky Islands from falling. After this, it shows us the final clip where Link is looking at Ganon. We can see the Master Sword covered in malice. We then hear Zelda's voice saying, "Lend him your power." She is most likely talking to the hand in the first trailer. It then shows Malice chase after Link, where he turns and jumps to catch Zelda. Thanks for watching, and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.